Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Beyond Betrayal, and this is a part of our forgiveness intensive. What we've been doing is focusing on forgiveness and helping you to find the way to do that. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're actually on step 2 because we're often told how to forgive, but we're not taught how. Excuse me, I said that wrong. Is that we're often told to forgive, but we're not taught how. And so in this session, I'm going to be speaking with my friend Trena, and we will discuss the important step of self-examination. And so we'll be right back. All right, that's me. I wanted to bring Trina in here. There she is. So,
Hi.
hey, what's happening?
Hey,
So,
not too much.
we got some
Not too
sunshine
much.
happening today in North Dakota.
The sun is shining, but the snow is not falling yet. We
Yeah.
missed winter. We missed winter entirely this year.
Oh, really? Well,
Yes, it's weird.
but it gets pretty cold there, though, doesn't it?
You know what? I think we've only had maybe 10 days. It's the
Oh, really?
craziest thing I've ever seen. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's weird.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
great. So, you do a lot of work for Youth for Christ. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do.
So,
And I'm a children's minister as well.
yeah. And so yeah, I appreciate all of that. And certainly, and we were talking a little bit off camera on some of your current challenges, and you just delivered a baby, or helped deliver a baby four
Yeah,
weeks
I did.
ago.
Yes, I did. What a crazy thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Then I
that's
get to help care for him, so that's exciting.
there you go.
Yeah.
So um, we want to talk about these 10 steps to forgiveness, and I got a
Mhm.
slide here that shows that. And last week we talked about choose to forgive. Today we're going to be talking about examining yourself, or examine self-examination. And then we have the other steps that, like, identify their losses or their offenses and your losses, feel your feelings, forgive all you can, share this experience with a trusted friend, ask God to help you with what you cannot forgive, be patient and give yourself grace, realize that forgiveness is a process, and hold a resolution ceremony. So we want to kind of touch on this thing, this whole concept of self-examination. Here is a corollary that I have developed. I've done a lot of work with addicts, alcoholics, people who have been abused by their spouses. And then also, I've done a lot of work with children who have been trafficked. And I did that for many, many years and helped write a program to help those children to recover from their trauma. And here is a corollary that I've come up with. Evil done to us brings forth evil within us. And this is very subtle, but
Mhm.
it's what happens. Now I want you to, and you know this as well as I do, that not anger, following a hurt, anger is not bad. That's just typical what happens
Yes.
following a hurt. But
Mhm.
standing in resentment, revenge, and contempt for your offender is not virtuous. Now, you have an interesting story.
I do.
at, at so many levels, you know. But so many years ago, I performed your wedding.
Yes.
And then sometime after that, actually, after 4 children,
Mhm.
your husband came out as transgendered,
That's right.
and then eventually went the whole route of pursuing becoming a transsexual. Of
That's
course,
right.
the idea of being transgendered is that that a person psychologically feels like they're born in the wrong body, But then transsexual is when they've had sexual reassignment surgery. Now, now I assume that the sexual reassignment surgery happened a long time after he came out, and your marriage was over by then, was it?
That's
Yeah,
right. Yep.
yeah. But in the meantime, that this was like a punch in the gut for you,
And
and
I had 4 little children.
yeah, 4 little children, and and a and a husband who wants to be known as the aunt now,
That's right.
correct? Yeah. And so, tell me about the time that you were lying in wait for him.
Well, it was a day my two youngest were home, and they would
Mm-hmm.
have been 2 and 4, and the
Mm-hmm.
other two would have been in school.
Yeah.
And I had gone somewhere and I had come home, and he was cross dressing in the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
And it was something that I wanted kept from the children at all cost. That was
Yeah.
the one thing that I didn't want my children affected by this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, that's a fairy tale, let me tell you, that it affects everybody. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I came in and I mean, I don't even know, livid's not even the right word for it. And I did. I loaded a double barrel shotgun
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to kill him. And
Yeah.
I didn't have any doubt in my mind that that's what I had. I was just needed the problem gone. And it was
Mm-hmm.
protection for the kid. I don't know. It was as real as anything. Wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
matter of fact. And then
Yeah.
I did call for help though.
Mm-hmm.
And I called a pastor actually.
Hmm.
And he came. It took him a long time to get there, though, and I stayed in wait right there.
Hmm.
I didn't move a muscle. And when he got there, he just said, Trina, I'm so sorry I'm not walking close enough to the Lord to deal with Satan toe to toe. And he left me.
Hmm. Oh
He
my.
walked out.
Yeah.
And needless to say, I did not pull the trigger, but I did
Yeah.
hear God within me say, what about your children? What about your
Yeah.
children? And I
Mm-hmm.
laid it down.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
That I mean, I wouldn't even know that I'd be capable of such thing, but
Mm-hmm.
you
Well, it's
know,
like what I said, that evil done to us brings forth evil within us.
the worst, the
Yeah.
worst.
Yeah. And that's why this topic of forgiveness is so essential.
Yep.
And the crazy thing about this, I've seen this over and over, is that when people, after they've kind of gone through the hurt and betrayal that they've experienced, is that is that they almost all adopt this stance of that I'm not the bad guy here,
Hmm.
you know. And while it's true that you're not the perpetrator in this case, your husband was the perpetrator. He was the one who created the offense in the relationship, brought the hurt into the relationship. It's also true that you were not the good guy responding to his evil
Right.
in an evil way.
Yep.
And
But
that's, yeah.
even in this sense, Carrie, when counselors or therapists got involved,
Mm-hmm.
because I was so adamantly against, I was the bad guy there too.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I wasn't loving, I wasn't kind. And this is a long time ago. This isn't in today's society. This is,
Mm-hmm.
1988.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just that I wouldn't be accepting.
Yeah. Well,
They,
even if it is accepting, that it still is completely damaging.
mhm,
I mean, it doesn't matter if culture has changed, is that truth hasn't. And
right,
when a spouse decides to go down a path that is not healthy in the relationship, it's going to have fallout both in the relationship and all those who are in that family.
right.
And
Oh,
so,
I was the worst me I've ever, yes, in all ways.
yeah,
I was horrible.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so this whole thing, because Because obviously, when we've been hurt deeply, we see the fault in our offender, and that's understandable.
Right.
But the reason why this step is particularly offensive is because it's inviting us to take our focus off of our offender, not to ignore it or to deny it,
Mhm.
but to focus on ourselves and to find a good way forward to resolve the hurt that we've gone through. So, but most of the folks that I've talked, many, many, many of them who have been deeply hurt are deeply resistant and defensive when it
Mhm.
comes to talking about forgiveness. You know,
Mhm.
how about for you?
Yeah.
Was that your experience along the way?
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit funny in that. I think that when people have an edge that blame God for situations, I think they have a
Mm-hmm.
harder time with forgiveness because once I got a hold of that um, forgiveness that I would be set free, I was like, hoo ha, how do I do this?
Yeah.
Because I hated being in that bondage, like living in the
Mm-hmm.
shadow of this yucky thing all the time. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Of course,
And
of
so
course, of course.
I
Yeah.
was one who, I mean, I went after with everything once I got a hold of that
Mm-hmm.
personal forgiveness and that I could ask, that I could forgive someone without even speaking to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was, oh, that was life giving to me.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
You know, the word repentance in the Bible, a lot of times people get confused about it, but it's the Greek word metanoia.
Mhm.
And what it means, it's a change of mind
Mhm.
that then leads to a change of behavior. And so when it comes to even it, like what you said, with respect to your story, when you begin to understand forgiveness in its proper light,
Mhm.
you were eager to embrace it because you saw that this is the path for
That's
you
right.
to be set free, you know.
And when I asked forgiveness, how quickly, I mean, the love of God, it was like poured over me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like a long time later. It was immediately when I came to God with that repentant heart,
Yeah.
knowing his he was willing to forgive me of everything I've done, you know,
Mm-hmm.
kind of it took I quit pointing fingers real quick.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it was a very, very healing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
bad situation, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. It
with God,
doesn't change the other person,
right,
and it
right.
doesn't change the circumstances,
Mhm, mhm.
but it
But
did
the
change you.
bitterness is gone because that
Yeah.
bitterness is a root that is life. It'll ruin your own life.
Yeah.
The other
Oh
person
yeah.
probably not even thinking about you. Right? They're happy to be rid. So I mean, that really
Yeah. Really.
sitting
Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah. So
Mm,
no good comes from it.
no,
Unforgiveness. I've never seen in any circumstance any good in
ever.
any situation, and it's not, and actually, all right. Forgive me for stating it this way, but I'm
Mhm,
going to state it and then I'll walk it back. Is that
mhm,
I'm glad that this happened to you, and I'll tell you why. Is because you now are an example. Because people
sure.
always say, well, what about this? Or what if
Mhm,
this happened to you? Or what if your spouse did that? Well, here you have a situation where your spouse, you know, uh, turned and wanted to be now the aunt in the family, and you were left with the four little kids, trying to manage that and everything kind of spun out of control from there. So what I'm saying is that, yeah, if Trina can do it, so can you. You know?
Absolutely. If I can, you can. And it's so cool because once you feel how that forgiveness sets you free, which it totally does,
Yeah.
then you want it everywhere. Because crazy enough, then years
Hmm.
after that, I kept that forgiveness I wanted. So I even said, God, if there is anybody I haven't forgiven, if there's anyone, please bring them to mind. Because I seriously, I was so set free. I'm like, I just wanted the whole thing. No
Yeah.
joke, no joke. One year I'm sitting and I had done, and I would write the name down. Oh, I forgive
Yeah.
you for this. I mean, I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
forgiven
Yeah.
her
Yeah. No, that's
very
good.
seriously. And because it's an instant, you're set free. I have
Hmm.
nothing, no bondage in this. So I'm doing Christmas cards one year, and I come across this person's name right there under the V's, and I went, oh, why is he still in, But
Yeah.
because of what I learned, it was easy to say, you know what, God, I lay this guy right here.
Yeah.
And, you know, I ask, it helped me to forgive him. And it's gone. Like it's
Hmm.
supernatural power of God. I'm telling you, it's a miracle how
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
Anyone, work for anyone.
Yeah. 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 Here's a question, because I've worked with a number of people who are stuck in this process. And
Yep.
here's one question that I always ask them when they're stuck. I say,
Mhm.
okay, I get it. You're stuck.
Yep.
I said, now I don't want you to answer it right now, but I want you to think about it. What good are you achieving by not being forgiven, or by not forgiving? Because whenever we don't forgive, what we are doing is that there's some sort of good that we think that we're achieving, you know, and I want you to examine that. I want you to think about what what what's the benefit, what's the payoff. I guess maybe another way of thinking about it is that what's the payoff that you're achieving by not forgiving? And more often than not, here's what they'll come back and tell me: a sense of superiority.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
It's almost like a vengeance, and
Mm-hmm.
the other person's not even involved anymore
Yeah.
in
Mm-hmm.
so many, right? In so many things.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you just stay bound to this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I believe it's where Satan wants us.
Oh, I believe, I am 100% in agreement with you, because if he cannot entice you into rebellion,
Yep.
then he can bring hurt into your life that will, that, like I say, evil done to us brings forth evil from within us,
Yep.
and then that we get trapped in resentment, revenge, and contempt, and those things are not
Because as
good.
soon as we're in that place, when
Mm-hmm.
and I know people would relate, you'll wake up at 2, 3 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do today. Right? They, and
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
why do they come to your mind in the night?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Mm-hmm.
the devil. It's the battlefield in our mind. And
It
I
is.
mean, mess with us. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
constantly stirs. As soon as you call God into it, Lord, I want to forgive this person.
Mm-hmm.
Not that because what they did wasn't awful, but I just got to forgive them. I got to let it go. I need to bring it to you. That being woke up in the night stops.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
wonderful.
um I'm not talking in a couple weeks. I'm talking immediately. It stops.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
are set, and then you're kind of like, now what, you fretted so long, or you hated so long, or that you're like, now what do I do? But it really
Yeah.
is,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a miracle.
Yeah. It is. You know.
Mhm.
So here's another thing that I've discovered in working with folks is that is that they say, I really want to, but I don't know how. And of course, that's why I came up with these 10 steps, is to help somebody to know how. But then what I ask them, okay, are you willing to become willing? You don't even
Yep.
have to want to do it yet,
Hmm.
but are you willing to become willing and to start praying about it?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
because
And
if you
I
start
would
doing
even
that, go
take
ahead. Mm-hmm.
one step more than that. What helps me, write their name down.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as you ask somebody, do you have a beef with anybody? Is there a grievance? Is there
Mm-hmm.
something, or that they wouldn't be coming talking to you if there wasn't this
Mm-hmm.
thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and as soon as they got one name, there's usually another name,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we do that. You
Yeah.
probably got somebody from high school that just ticked you off at some time,
Yeah.
and because that's how we are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We do stay there. Start making a list,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden your list just gets short. Because I mean, I listened to a message this morning, and it was on forgiveness, which was I didn't even mean to. And in that message, that I asked, is there anybody that I need to forgive right now?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if a name comes up, do it. Take care of it.
Yeah. There you go. That's
And
wonderful.
you lighten your load. I'll tell you, you lighten your load.
Yeah. So, so now I'm going to jump back to the screen just for a minute
Yeah.
here, and let me see if I can bring it up in the right screen here. There we go. That's come on, my switcher's not working right now. There it is. Okay,
Mhm.
so when we are at this, when we choose to forgive, if we're willing to become willing, and then we do this step of self-examination,
Yeah.
then here's what I encourage people to do, and understand, and certainly understand that forgiveness, and jumping way ahead to number 9 there, is that forgiveness is a process, and in your case it was something that worked. There was an instantaneous release and relief, and I think that that's true. But also, what I've found in working with folks is that sometimes we just need to, instead of try to take the big leap to the end, let's just take the next step forward. That's all we got to do.
Right.
We don't have to work it all out all at once,
Right.
but just take the next step forward. And
And
so,
that's look at you. If you
mm-hmm.
stop, you got to stop the blame game, perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
even though that's
Mm-hmm.
hard to do because there's usually it's what we do.
Yeah.
But look at you and that's what did it for me. Look at how much God has forgiven me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
right?
I actually did a broadcast last night about taking the log out of your own eye, and
Yeah.
because it's a very offensive teaching that Jesus,
Right.
because you say, wait a minute, what they did wasn't a speck. And,
Mhm.
because he says, before you can see the speck into your brother's eye. And, but the point that he's making is that you have something in your spiritual field of vision that is
Right.
completely blinding yourself to the path forward.
Yep.
And until you deal with that, you will be in no way prepared to properly respond to your
I agree.
perpetrator.
I
You know,
agree. And that's where your step 2 is absolutely it. That's the right.
yeah, yeah,
Check out your own business first. Where am I in this? Yeah,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah.
it's true.
So so really, what we're talking about, and you said it yourself, is that when we are stuck in this blame thing, look what you did to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Then when our focus is, and I've seen this again over and over, when our focus is on their offense,
Yep.
we stay stuck. And let's face it, what your husband did profoundly hurt you. But the fact of the matter is, and I have since been ministering to your ex-husband for many years now,
Right.
and that he was fighting his own battles,
Oh my.
and he was all alone in that. Not only with his his gender dysphoria, but also with his schizophrenia,
Oh yes.
and he
Yes.
was completely isolated in that, and so while what he did hurt you profoundly, once you forgave him, you actually became more compassionate towards him.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Yep.
know, it was actually you, because before I ever contacted him, I contacted you first and said, "Hey, do you think it would be okay if I reached out to your former husband and and start talking?" And we have a wonderful friendship now.
Yep.
We really do. And he,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
and he loves the Lord. He
Yep.
really.
I know.
you
I know.
know, you know.
It's yeah.
And he's a
Yeah.
blessing to me in so many ways.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm glad that you could do it. It
Yeah.
absolutely is not my place to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean,
Of
it's
course.
just I mean,
Yeah.
my husband, now we've been married
Yeah.
28 years, and
Yeah.
we have helped and done and been there and all those things,
Mm,
but like the position that you are in to
yeah.
help with the other things, as you've been a blessing in
Yeah.
there. And yeah,
And I feel honored. I really do. I feel honored to have that opportunity to do that. And I think that somewhere along the line in God's providence, He brought us three together way, way,
mhm,
way back in the
long
day.
time ago.
And yeah,
Yeah,
and I performed your wedding.
1978.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
long time ago.
So, but so when our focus is on their offense, we stay stuck. But when our focus is on my healing,
That's
my
right.
growth, my recovery, then we become empowered.
That's
You
right.
know,
Right.
before we
And even
wrap, go ahead.
our own sins.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, when we're hurt,
Mm,
we react, and it's not nice most of the time, either by words or action, right?
yeah. Or
I mean,
shotgun.
I try again. Thank God I didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Um,
You
I'd
almost
be
you didn't have a shotgun wedding, but you almost had a shotgun divorce.
You'd still be bringing me cookies. I'd still be in the pen, I'm sure.
Oh, I don't know, man. I think you'd probably be out by now, given the
Oh, I
the
don't know.
situation of our
I
culture.
I wouldn't do well. I just wouldn't do well at
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's for
They'd
sure.
hate me.
That's for sure.
Oh
So,
my
hey,
goodness.
before we wrap up, and
Yeah.
don't jump off. I'm going to close out the broadcast in a
Okay.
minute, but you stay on. But
Okay.
any additional thing, anything else that you'd like to say before we close out this portion of the broadcast?
Scripture is so clear on it. Jesus says it, forgive others,
Yeah.
forgive others, and you will be forgiven. If that, you
Hmm.
need that extra bonus in there.
Yeah,
We've
really.
all got stuff that we need to, be forgiven for, but forgive,
Yeah.
just forgive, forgive, forgive.
Yeah.
And you look through any Bible story, King David, did he need
Hmm.
forgiveness? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, right?
Yeah.
So we are humans and ask for forgiveness and forgive
Amen.
others.
And I do want to just tail on to something that you just piggyback on something that you just said, is that I think that, and here again, Satan I think uses this against us because we feel
Hmm.
like, well, if I haven't really purged out all of this complication and this hurt in my life, or whatever, well then I must not have forgiven. And I just taught this to a group of men that I do a Bible study with on Tuesday nights. And I said, God is less concerned with where you're at as he is with what direction you're heading.
That's right.
And but when we refuse to forgive, what that really means is that we've chosen sin over God's grace.
That's right. and you will stay stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will stay stuck.
Yeah.
So if you don't
Absolutely.
like where you are, that's exactly, if you don't like where you're at, there's someone you need to forgive, even if it's yourself.
There you go.
It's true.
Hey, I really appreciate your life, Trina, and your ministry and your wisdom. You've had to walk a rocky road.
Yeah. But I appreciate you, Carrie, a lot.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Hang in there, and I'm going to be right back to you in just a moment. So, hey guys, Trina's story is a remarkable story, and I appreciate her participating in our Beyond Betrayal broadcasts, and particularly her insights with respect to forgiving others. And so I would encourage you to come back. We're going to keep up this forgiveness intensive until we've gone through all 10 of the steps, and we're only on step number 2. So, and I would encourage you. The previous broadcasts are on the platform where you're watching us, so check those out. So that's it for now. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.